Influencing popular culture, politics, and everything in between. The local station takes you ringside as we discuss the crazy world that is professional wrestling. This is Going Ringside with The Local Station.
Hello and welcome to Going Ringside. I am your host, Scott Johnson. Another big mega episode today as we here at Going Ringside through CW Network continue our relationship with WWE and the NXT brand right here. Of course, Kelani Jordan, the NXT North American champion, will be joining us a little later on. And of course, the woman herself of the year, that would be NXT champion Roxanne Perez, will also be joining us momentarily. Such a huge episode. We here at Going Ringside have been so excited to partner with CW Network and NXT going into their debut episode from Chicago this week. Let me back up. Last week, I would recommend going and checking out our episode with champion Trick Williams on the men's side and his I got that wrong. Champion Ethan Page and challenger Trick Williams facing off in the main event for the debut of NXT for their debut episode on CW. And of course, two other names that are major here are Roxanne Perez and Kelani Jordan. So I want to start with Roxanne Perez, who we're going to be joined by here in just one moment. She is so young, and we're going to talk about that. It's hard to believe what this lady has accomplished in such a short amount of time, starting at the young age of 13. She's on the road to a dream. You don't see many athletes with that sort of dedication and that much success early. She has ascended the mountaintop. And right here, you've got Kelani Jordan. She's going to be up a little bit. She is the North American champ, but we're starting with Roxanne Perez. I sat down and talked with her at the WWE Performance Center in Orlando about how she came this far, this quickly, what's next for her, dream matches, and how she is dealing with life on top. So let's get this packed episode started with NXT champion Roxanne Perez. You're holding that NXT title. You've been a champion in Ring of Honor. How at this young age, where people are just moving out of their parents' house, have you accomplished this much?
Hard work.
Really?
And determination and believing in myself. I started training when I was 13 years old.
That young?
Yeah. I've had this dream since I was 10. And for some reason, I always felt like one day I was going to make it all possible. So I just knew I had to work hard enough to make a name for myself on the independent scene so that one day the WWE would notice me. And
what did that hard work look like when you're 14, 15, 16 years old?
It looked like getting home from school, going to training, coming back, on the weekends, getting on a Greyhound to make my independent wrestling shows.
How old do you do when you're doing those Greyhound runs?
I was about 16, doing the Greyhound runs, yeah. I would actually drive on a Greyhound to Booker T's wrestling school in Houston, Texas.
I want to get to Booker T in a second. Yeah. And before we do, talk to me about what that's like for a 16, 17 years old. Did you feel almost disassociated from other kids your age when you're doing this very adult life at that point?
Yeah, I think obviously in middle school, high school, people are not very nice. So, doing that and, I had a goal in mind and, obviously when you're in high school, people want to party and they want to have fun. And I wanted to do those things, but I also wanted to accomplish my dreams and become so good that I could become undeniable. So that's what I did. Every single break that I had, I was getting on a Greyhound, going to Booker T, staying at my aunt and uncle's house, which I'm so grateful for them. They gave me a place to stay while I did that. And yeah, it was literally all so worth it.
And talk to me about Booker T. He's called you his, I think, protege? Yeah. What has Booker T's influence been like? You say it started with his wrestling school out there.
It did, yeah. So Booker T has been such a big part of my wrestling career and, my training growing up. I was 16 years old when I started training at his school, and his school is amazing reality of wrestling. It's not just a small indie show. He has the production. He has the entrance. It's amazing.
Does that matter when you're learning?
Oh, 100%. I think that's one of the hardest things, being on TV and wrestling. You're not just worrying about your match. You're worrying about the camera angles. You're worrying about which side are you going to be during this point in the match? And that's something that Booker T helped me with so much, my face and cameras. And that's something that I wouldn't have learned just being on a...
And you're still with him at this point. Has that been helpful just to still be by his side?
Yes, 100%, because I literally still, after every single match that I have, I'll go up to him and he'll give me feedback. He'll tell me what I'm doing wrong, what I'm doing right. So it's cool to have him here now still.
Now, it's not all been fun. I mean, you've had run-ins with Julia at No Mercy. Talk to me about that. I mean, it's not been all sunshine and rainbows for you.
I mean, this girl just wants to walk in here and take my title. There's a line, but I'll give it to her that, she definitely is one of the best women's wrestlers from Japan. And I've seen her stuff. I've been studying her, but I'm the best woman in the world. So I know you can't really compete with that.
There's a difference. Dream feuds, dream matches. Obviously, you have decades ahead of you. So where would you like to go? Who would you like to face if given the opportunity?
I can name so many people, but I think at the very top of my list is Bayley.
Bayley, really? I
would love to, yeah. I grew up watching her, idolizing her, and she's one of the first people that when I came in here and I told her, I actually met her when I was about 15 years old and at a random independent wrestling show, and I told her I look up to her and want to be a part of it one day. And so being able to come in here and go up to her and say, hey, look, I met you just a few years ago and you're the reason why I'm here.
I've always wondered about that dynamic because I've heard about it from young wrestlers like you, seeing their hero and wrestling them. That would be interesting.
It definitely would. So Bayley, I'm calling you out.
We heard it here. Roxanne Perez, thank you so much for joining us on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Let me reiterate, Bayley, if you ever want to come on the show to respond, we would love to have you. So Roxanne Perez, shooting for the stars. She's NXT champ. She's at the top of the world in the only brand that's going to be on broadcast television for WWE. As we've talked about here, SmackDown moving off broadcast to USA, Raw on Netflix, but NXT will be in that many homes to be on CW Network. It's a huge deal for these wrestlers. And Roxanne Perez, really the female face of the company, but she is not to be outdone by her counterpart, who is NXT North American champion. That would be Kelani Jordan, another major star in the making, who's been on the scene for a couple years now, but is really starting to take off globally as fans are really gravitating toward her. She's been doing something that's really interesting, and we're going to talk about for pro wrestlers to do. It's a really difficult balance for a pro wrestler to have a professional life on camera and a personal life. Some merge it into one. We, of course, saw that with Bianca Belair and Montez Ford just 2 episodes ago. They talked about making their personal life public. Well, Kelani Jordan's done that somewhat. We're going to talk about that in this episode. But she is achieving so much. North American Women's Champion, also very young with the world in front of her. She is a major star in the making right on NXT. So we also sat down with NXT North American champ. Here is Kelani Jordan. We're here with Kelani Jordan. Thank you so much for joining us on the show today. Excited to have you. So let's talk about it. That belt over your shoulder. Has it been a little more than a year now you've had that title?
No, I got it, or I earned it, and I won it on June 9th, 2024. How many months is that?
Oh, so it's been several months, 3 months. I don't know where I got a year, but several months, though. It's been hard to maintain that long in the world of NXT. So talk to me about what it means to you to hold the title that long.
It means everything to me because it's one thing to get the title, but it's another thing keeping the title on your shoulder. In NXT, we have a talented women's locker room.
Yeah.
So my defenses with Sol, Michin, Tatum, Wendy, they all gave me a run for my money. So I think that just goes to show, NXT is up and coming.
Your journey from small town Georgia to the bright lights of Orlando and beyond, not just here, what's that been like? What's that transition?
So gymnastics is honestly how I got here because I was a gymnast at Michigan State and they reached out to me to go to a tryout at SummerSlam in the year 22. And that's when I was offered by Triple H to come down to the Performance Center. And it's been a dream come true. If you asked me a Kelani 2 years ago when I was graduating college, I would never in a billion years be able to say like, oh, I'm going to be the inaugural champion or I'm even going to wrestle. I would have never believed you.
You say Triple H contacted you. Talk to me about what that was like. How did that work?
Honestly, when I watched the video back, because it was like they recorded the interaction, I was so awkward because I felt like I was in shock. I couldn't believe, one, that Triple H was in front of me, but also that I was being offered to come train to be a WWE superstar. So now watching it back, I'm like, yeah, you could tell like I'm like shook, like what is happening?
Really?
Yeah.
Are you still there, or have you gotten a little past that phase of the starstruck?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like past the phase of starstruck, but still very grateful because I don't have to do this. I get to do this. So I'm still like I'm still grateful no matter what, but not really starstruck anymore.
Talking about Carmelo. Carmelo, you've been very public about this. A lot of people in wrestling are not. Mm-hmm. You're not hiding it at all.
No, Melo's great. He's awesome. We obviously met in wrestling, but he's taught me a lot. He's helped build me as a person. Like, not only he's helped me like in the ring, but he just is the great out the ring. And I think that like he's awesome.
Why did you decide to be as public as you did?
I think because at the end of the day, I'm still a human and I still have a personal life. And I don't feel like I should have to hide that.
Has that been hard to separate the personal and the professional? Because you bleed into you deal with wrestling, you deal with real life, you deal with celebrity. Is that hard? I mean, you've only been doing it a few years now.
Personally, he may have a different answer, but for me, it's been like the same because I feel like Kelani is who I am. So it's been like the same. Like I act how I would act on social media as I do in person.
Dream matches. I mean, you're young. You have so much ahead of you. What would you like? Who would you like to face?
There's a few people, but I would love to face Naomi.
Naomi.
Yes, because everyone always calls me her daughter. And also, I just love Naomi.
Let me back up. What do you think about them calling you her daughter?
I love it.
Wait, what does she think about it, maybe?
I hope she likes it.
Yeah.
I'm honored because Naomi has paved the way for girls like me to have an opportunity to be able to even hold a title or to wrestle at all. So I'm thankful that they call me her daughter. But also, I would love to go against Charlotte Flair.
You would like to face Charlotte. Why Charlotte?
She is the queen for a reason, and I think it's proven in her work. Like, her matches are amazing, but also she's so athletic, and she would be an incredible opponent.
Has the gymnastics made you more able in the ring than a lot of people maybe are able to do?
Yeah, I think gymnastics has not only helped me with character development, like being like working hard, sacrificing, but it's helped me with air awareness, body control, being a high flyer. Like, I can sit on the top rope and flip off, and that doesn't like scare me, but gymnastics is not an aggressive sport, so I think that's something that I'm learning, like being in wrestling.
I never ask a woman her age, but I'm going to do it here. How old are you?
25.
25. You were 25 years old. People work the indies for years. You were 25 years old, about to go on a broadcast network as a champion. What's that like on CW?
It's amazing. I'm happy to not only be able to make history, but also to be a part of history with us moving to the CW. So I think it's a chance for me to appeal to younger girls to say, like, if Kelani can do it, then so can I. But also, there's a lot of other girls on the roster who could appeal to other girls. And I think we have a great representation of a lot of women and also men in NXT that people can look up to. And even we have a lot of other sports like MMA, we have gymnasts, we have football. We have everyone from all walks of life. And I think that's amazing.
Kelani Jordan, thank you so much for joining us on the show today.
Thank you.
So happy to talk to both women, both champions. I want to mention something. So we've mentioned a lot of names on this episode. We've mentioned Bayley. We've mentioned Charlotte Flair. We mentioned Bianca Belair. We mentioned Naomi, who, by the way, we had Naomi on the show a few months back. Go check out the episode if you like. But these two are essentially those women in the making. They are the future of WWE. They are the megastars, now just going to get bigger with every year. Already holding titles, already influencing a new generation of young women, particularly who are going to be watching the CW network and NXT and looking up to these women who are just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. You saw them here at the beginning. It's only going to grow for them. And I want to thank once again CW Network and NXT for partnering with us. And we got a lot of big interviews coming in coming weeks, huge, biggest in the world interviews as you get every week here on Going Ringside. One I want to give you a tease for coming in October. I haven't set a date yet, but we'll definitely announce it at both our Going Ringside Instagram and TikTok channel. The Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels, is coming to Going Ringside. Little bit of a tease to watch for in coming weeks, so we're so excited to have Shawn and so happy both of them could join us. Kelani Jordan, Roxanne Perez, I keep getting backwards here, but so happy both ladies could sit down with us and look for some big guests in the weeks to come here on Going Ringside, as I like to say, the fastest growing wrestling talk show podcast, whatever you like to call it, in the country, maybe in the world. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you back here next time.
This has been Going Ringside with The Local Station, brought to you every Wednesday on your favorite podcast player, on News 4 Jax Plus, as well as the News 4 Jax YouTube channel.